What's up, everybody? My name is Dazz. Welcome to Motor Tic Mastery. So I'm just reading Ram Dass's most recent, latest and final book. He passed 2 years ago, but the book was released last year. The book's called Becoming Ram Dass. And one of the chapters is called Becoming No Body. Becoming No Body. And given the lens that I have into the world, having been through this journey of healing a motor tic condition, I often translate what I'm seeing into the lens in which I have, right? Becoming no body. And in this chapter, he details the first time that he took psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, essentially the chemical in magic mushrooms, which takes you into an alternative way of experiencing consciousness. One experiences reality differently. What's real and true and physical and normal and the way you usually see the world sort of turns upside down. There's a different perspective and seeing of what could be true when one explores their own consciousness. And on this journey, on this trip that he goes on, he talks about this moment where he leaves his friends and he sits on the sofa. This was back in the early 60s, I believe, when a lot of the research of LSD and mushrooms was taking place in places like Stanford and Harvard University and other institutions like this. And he was sitting there, just like coming into his center, his stillness, his peace. And he's hallucinating in front of him what he sees. And he's hallucinating and he sees somebody in the corner of the room. Not fearful or scared, but as he looks closer and more closer, he sees himself. He sees one layer of himself, we could say. It was the layer of himself, a construct of his mind that was the academic of him, with his hat on that he'd got when he graduated as a scholar, sort of bit of paper, standing there like this. And he was like, it's just a part of me. It's not all that I am. It's just one layer of who I am. And he lets it go. And sort of that hallucination disappears. So Ram Dass in this moment, and he has a different name back then because he hasn't gone on his spiritual journey yet. This is at the very beginning of him exploring spirit and soul and different facets of his own mind and ego. And then that goes, and then another part of him appears, the part of him that was a pilot or something, and he lets that go. And then another part of his identity and who he is goes, his exploration with sexuality, homosexuality, and he sees that part of himself, and he lets that go. And he lets go all of these identities one by one, one by one, one by one, one by one. He gets down to, seeing his sort of root personality layer, his young self that he had become when he was with his family. And he lets go of that identity. And he's like, I don't know, if I let go of this, who am I really? Because this is my base, my core knowing of what I am and who I am. That layer of me, that, I think he was called Albert when he was younger, before his spiritual name of Ram Dass. If Albert goes, that young boy Albert goes, that kind of does what the world wants him to do, if that goes, then who's left? Like, who's left? And he lets that go with some hesitation whilst journeying on this psilocybin, these mushrooms. And he lets that go. And he's seeing, noticing, and still aware. So who is he? Right? Who is he if you can keep letting go of all the identities and layers of who you think you are, who we think we are? So for those of us that live right now with a ticking condition, a motor tic, a vocal tic, Tourette's, there is a layer of the beingness of who you are that thinks, believes, knows that that identity of that condition, that movement, is needed in you somewhere and somehow. But beyond those identities of what we create and become, there is just an empty awareness of just stillness watching. There's an empty awareness of stillness just watching the play and the drama of this physical body and this physical life. And ultimately, Albert Ramdas went on for many decades of his life teaching the becoming no thing, becoming no body, experiencing and living in a state of loving awareness. Because in that state of a loving awareness, there is just love and awareness. There isn't an agitated, anxiety-fueled, stressful body moving in intensity and tightness, in aggression or anger with the inner or outer world happening around itself. And so this has been a big part of my journey in healing this condition, is learning to spend more time in that place of peace. And for some reason I'm being guided to move my hand back here, because it's kind of like when we're focused on life and we're moving forward and we're like really focused and things are happening, I've got to do stuff, and like when I'm really stressed, the body's moving. But there's a relaxation where you can sit from in your awareness, the consciousness of what you are, not the thoughts, but the space between the thoughts or behind the thoughts, which we can tune into. And by tuning into this space, this area physically located maybe behind you versus in the intensity of in front of you of the doing nature of the mind, but behind us, that we learn that I don't have to be so caught up. I don't need to be so caught up in life, so caught up in the identity of this body, when actually everything really is okay. Everything really is okay. And I know it's difficult sometimes, but everything really is okay. Everything really is okay. And it might be right now that you are listening and I'm speaking to the part of you that is frustrated or agitated about this tic, this part of you that you maybe are seeking solace from or to escape from. And it's that part of us that just needs a little bit of that loving kindness and loving awareness, so that it feels softer, gentler, kinder to itself. The body is doing stuff in intensity. There isn't a softness there. There isn't a gentleness there. And it's no wonder that usually it's more men than women that have this condition. And it's usually men more than women that haven't been taught it's okay to have that gentle, soft relationship to ourself and our body. It is, more often than not, being a man in this world is about forward thinking and aggression and movement and making things happen and pushing and trying and going harder and la la la. It's a very masculine, sort of an injured, impure masculine expression in the world. And we're allowed to feel a little bit of our feminine as men. And if you're a woman watching this and you're ticking, then maybe there's a part of your being that's got caught up in this overreaching masculinity in our world as well. And then the tic is a manifestation of the tightness and the density and the pushing and the striving that is in our field together here in our collective culture. So I just wanted to share with you all just a little bit of that loving kindness. And as I'm reading his book right now, I'm tearing up in the beauty of which he speaks about his journey and his life. I remember the moment when this man passed away, because Actually, although I hadn't connected too deeply to his teachings just before 2 years ago, when he left this planet, I felt that he had left. I could feel a deep sadness, and I didn't really understand why that was. But over time, I've started to feel and see the interconnectedness more and more of us all, as I'm sure you are feeling in relation to me in watching this video. It's not just the words that you're hearing and experiencing. It's something deeper than just words. There's so much more going on in our communication here than just words. And we must remember that when we relate to our body, because our body doesn't speak in words. Our body speaks in feelings and sensations. Alrighty. Have a really wonderful and beautiful day, my friends, and I'll drop another video soon. Much love.